Greetings, fellow book lovers, and welcome back to Colin's Corner. Today is going to be another reading wrap-up. I'm going to give you guys some updates on my life, the channel, my plans, and so on and so forth. But, of course, before we get started with today's video, we have to go over the answer for the last video's Comedy with Colin segment, where I asked you guys the joke, what does the moon do when he needs a haircut? The answer? Eclipse it. Alright, with that out of the way, guys, let's get on to this video. So I'm going to go over the things that I finished in the month of May, the things that I'm actively working on, because there's a lot of those. I'm kind of a little bit all over the place right now, but the good news is that I finished my semester, so I have about a month until summer semester starts, and my goal is to get a video out every 3 days. We're going to see if I can follow through with that. I've made you guys a lot of hollow promises of recently. I've been just very busy and I'm really trying to get back on track. So I figured setting a goal, I'm a very goal-oriented person, would be a good way for me to kind of get back into the swing of making videos a regular part of my schedule again. So without any more rambling, what did I finish? So I finished Dune. Come on, buddy. By Frank Herbert. It's not going to focus. It's not going to focus. Hey, there it is. Okay, I finished Dune by Frank Herbert. I'm just going to give my brief thoughts on all of these because I've got a lot to go through today. Dune was amazing. I don't know why I put this off for so long. I think, I don't know, I wasn't that worried about not liking it, I don't think. I haven't gotten that deep into sci-fi yet, and I knew that if I liked Dune, I'd want to shift a lot of my reading plans and try to get some more sci-fi, and which is a plan of mine, and I'm definitely going to be doing that anyways. But man, just the way that that Herbert was able to create such political intrigue and such, it was an anxiety-inducing book. Watching Paul Atreides kind of grow into the person, the entity, I guess, that he becomes is such a fun journey. And I think that, you know, we've got a lot of different players in this book, in this world, obviously, that are trying to get things done. And there's a ton of unspoken working behind the scenes going on. And one of my favorite parts of Dune, I was talking with a buddy of mine that read this. That's not on BookTube, but I lent him the book to read before I read it. And so we were chit-chatting. And one of my favorite parts of Dune was the way that Herbert chose to utilize the italicized text to give us the inner monologue of especially Jessica and Paul. I'm not even sure if, I guess with the Baron he does it too, but with those two, with Jessica and Paul specifically, it was really, I guess, it was a unique way of showing their actual thoughts, and that Jessica and Paul kind of would be able to read each other and know what their real motives are, even though they weren't portraying that physically or they weren't saying what they were actually meaning. It was just a really fun way for me, personally. I really enjoyed this stylistic choice to get that inner monologue about, you know, what their real motives were, and that they did really know what was going on, even if they were feigning or faking ignorance. So I don't know. With all that being said, I wanted to finish reading this, and I'm definitely going to go back. I've only seen the first movie. I want to go back and rewatch the first movie with my wife, and then we want to watch the second movie. I'm really excited to do that now with more knowledge of how the world works, and I'm not sure if I'm probably going to continue at least with Dune Messiah, which I own. Don't know when that's going to happen, but overall, I really, really love Dune. I know for a fact I'll be rereading this book at some point in my life. The next book that I finished Boom. Before they are hanged. Book 2 in Joe Abercrombie's First Law Trilogy, and I'm reading these on audio. I'm listening to them on audio. Stephen Pacey is unbelievable. Everyone told me that. Everyone said that if you're going to read First Law, it's one of those series that people recommend doing on audio. And I will give Stephen Pacey his flowers. However, what I do want to say is that everybody that told me and that I've seen videos of talking about Joe Abercrombie's character work is 100% correct. Because in order for somebody with the talents of Stephen Pacey to create the character voices and to nail kind of the tone of the book that Abercrombie intended, the character work, the substance, the story, the plot had to be there, and it certainly is in spades with this First Law trilogy. Now, Joe Abercrombie clicks with me. I think he clicks with a lot of people in this genre that like to read this genre. His humor is spot on what I like to read in humor. His characters are so distinct that, and I'm not a very visual reader, but I have pictures of these characters in my head, and there's scenarios that I can see playing out in the book with certain characters involved, and I just know, like, I can picture, like, oh, I know what Nine Fingers would do in this situation. I know what Luther would do in this situation. I know what Glockta would do in this situation, and to be able to do that is such an incredible talent. Abercrombie is kind of blowing me away. I mean, I wouldn't say that First Law is like going to be one of my favorite series of all time. I don't know if it's, I don't know. All I know is I'm really enjoying it. I am flying through the audio, kind of too fast almost. I think I'm not. And that's the thing with audiobooks. I'm kind of selective in what books I do on audio because I have the tendency to just fly through them sometimes. And I'm still retaining what's going on in the series pretty well. But I feel like when I physically read a book or a series, and I'm really devoting that much more time to it, it just feels more intimate to me. It feels like I'm able to enjoy it on a deeper level. So I think that when I reread First Law, I'm probably gonna do it physically instead of on audio the next time, because I'm really just flying through this. But that's just a testament to just how entertaining this is. I mean, twists and turns and characters doing things I don't want them to do, or surprising me, or doing what I know they're gonna do and it frustrating me. I mean, there's just so much going on in this world, and I don't understand the argument that I've heard a decent amount is that there's not a lot that happens, at least in the first book in the series. I don't think that's true. I think the plot of First Law is awesome. The magic is very intriguing. I love learning more about the backstory of the magic in this world through Baez and his apprentice. Nine Fingers is fascinating to me. I don't quite understand who or what he might be yet, but I'm really enjoying getting to know these characters further, and I'll talk about it in a second, but I am about, I think, halfway through the last Argument of Kings now, so things are getting crazy, needless to say. So I did finish Before They Are Hanged, and I absolutely loved it. Alright, next up, as part of a read-along with Alicia from Birdie in the Books, I believe we're going to read this and do a discussion, me, her, and a friend of hers. But this is a reread for me, and it's going to be... Please focus. Please focus. Oh, my camera is not. There we go. Jonathan Strange and Mr. Nol. Bad camera. Jonathan Strange and Mr. Nol. Again, this is a reread for me. I read this, I believe, in, I want to say 2021, 22. This is a very long book. It's the first published book by Susanna Clarke. And man, is it fantastic. It's an undertaking, just simply because of the size of it. And it's a bit of a different style. Some of you guys have heard my experience with Jonathan Strange and Mr. Nol on the channel before, but I read about half of it physically the first time that I read it. And I was doing a read along with some other friends of mine and fell kind of behind, so I started to do the audio. And I was enjoying the physical read, but it wasn't until I actually started listening to the audio that I realized I didn't have the tone right in my head. I wasn't reading it with the British humor that Susanna Clarke was. It was not a fault of the author. It was a fault of the reader. I wasn't picking up on just how funny this book was and how unserious it was at times. I think that my main issue in the beginning was that I was reading it too seriously. And I thought that the characters were acting strange and weird. But it's because I had the tone wrong in my head. So Susanna Clarke is such a talented author. The way that she writes, she has such a cadence, and she's very funny. Her prose is fantastic. And I think that for a lot of fantasy fans, if they're looking for something with just a different flavor and you haven't tried any books by Susanna Clarke yet, Piranesi might be a better place to start. Although, Piranesi and Jonathan Strange and Mr. Nol are very, very different books. Both fantastic in their own right, and I'm only about 5 chapters into this on my reread, but already loving it. I love these characters. I think that the way that they interact is just so entertaining to read about and to listen to in my case. And I'm interested to see how I'm going to end up feeling once I finish the reread. I'm sure there's tons and tons of stuff that I missed or overlooked on my first read through, just because it took me a while to get through it. There's a lot of footnotes. It's a style choice by Susanna Clarke that I think kind of rubs some people the wrong way, but it almost reads like a textbook, but because of the footnotes, but it's not boring at all. I don't want you to think that. But there's so many cool references, and it's a very unique way of world building that Susanna Clarke chose. And I know some fantasy books, you'll get the dramatis personae, you'll get appendices in the back, and she chose to use footnotes, and it's unique. It's different. Some of the footnotes are like pages long. Some of them are just like funny little tidbits about the world, or about a sly comment that somebody made that you might not understand as the reader without the context. So the footnote gives you the context. So again, I think that Susanna Clarke is a genius. She's super talented. And if you haven't read her yet, please give her a shot. Alright, now on to the books that I am actively reading. I am slowly working my way through this with my sister, 4 Past Midnight. We're only on the first story in here, The Langoliers. Again, I think I mentioned in my last video, Stephen King's like the only author in the world that can get away with calling like a 260-page story a novella. I think it would just be a novel for anybody else. But The Langoliers is a really long first novella in this. And I started it about 2 weeks ago, and I only made it like 40 pages through because I think my sister and I were both busy, and we kind of decided to take a little bit of a a break, slow down a little bit. But I'm going to get back into this because one of my goals is to read more short fiction this year. Just because it's something that I'm not very well versed in, and I think that it's something I need to become more well versed in. And I think that it's a great way for me to get out of minor slumps, and it's a great change of pace for just taking a break from these really long fantasy books or really long series, and just getting a nice, contained, entertaining story in 150, 200 pages. So I'm definitely going to continue to work my way through this. I mentioned that I finished Before They Are Hanged, and I am halfway through this. The Last Argument of Kings. It is delivering. Things are getting crazy. There are some character arcs in this specific book I could not have seen coming, but do not feel forced. Abercrombie has led all of these characters into these positions in the world and in the story that feel true to how these characters would act. And I think at times, like, none of it seems like plot convenience to me. Uh, all of the characters are in the story being used for a purpose. Obviously, all authors try to do that, but it doesn't feel like any characters are just thrown in there. And I really appreciate how Abercrombie has tied even characters that seem minor at times, are playing a massive part in this world now and taking on new roles. I think, if you guys have read this, especially the one character that I'm talking about, that I don't want to give any spoilers away, but man, did I not see that coming. I think that, with Abercrombie's ability to develop these characters in such a profoundly deep way, I feel like I know them. Not that I know people in my life that, are like them. I feel like I know these characters and I'm growing very attached to them. And Abercrombie is great at not allowing me to be able to predict what's going to go on. And so I'm really just enjoying this. I'm along for the ride. I am excited to see how this one ends. I know there's tons more in this world to read by Abercrombie, so I think, it's very exciting for me to have found a new author to dive even deeper into, and I'm really kicking myself for putting off Abercrombie for this long. All right, the last book that I am actively working on and will probably finish within either the day this video is being filmed or the day after, the first book in the Fitz and the Fool trilogy, Fool's Assassin. Oh my gosh, Robin Hobb. I don't know how she does it continuously. The Rainwilds was a great experience for me. It was better than I expected it to be, but there's just nothing like coming back to the Fitz storyline after a break. I loved Liveship. I really enjoyed the Rainwilds Chronicles, but I was just itching to get back to my man Fitz, to see what was going on, where we left Fitz and the characters surrounding Fitz. After the Tawny Man trilogy, I didn't know how big the time jump was going to be between Tawny Man and the Fitz and the Fool trilogy. It's a pretty big one. And just to get reacquainted with where Fitz is in his life was just this book was similar in some ways to Fool's Errand, where we're just kind of taking it slowly, and just getting reacquainted, like I said, with what Fitz has been up to, what he's been doing. And it was just so heartwarming to see where Fitz was in his life at this point and just be back with all these characters that I've missed so much. So there are some twists and turns in this. People that read the Realm of the Elderlings and are fans of Realm of the Elderlings, and there are a lot of fantasy series that I can say this about too, they are so good at not spoiling things. I had no idea what this series was about, aside from the fact that it's called Fitz and the Fool, so I knew that Fitz and the Fool were going to be a part of it. But man, is there some major stuff going down, and I really appreciate that people that love this series so much are able to keep that stuff in and just kind of watch people like me who have come late to the party just experience all this and share in the joys of me reading these pivotal moments in the series as I interact in Discord and talk with people that I'm friends with that are also reading it. It's just really fun for me to be a part of this, obviously this booktube community, but to be part of the Robin Hobb and the Realm of the Elderlings fandom. My wife is going on a trip. I'm sure many of you remember that in December the Christmas gift that I asked my wife for was for her to read Assassin's Apprentice. And we're both so busy with school, and my wife isn't a huge reader like I am. But she's about to go on a trip for a few days, and she's taking Assassin's Apprentice with her, and she's going to start it. And I just can't express to her, and I'm putting no pressure on her. Like, if she ends up not liking it, it is what it is. But Robin Hobb has just become such an impactful author for me that it just, like, I want to share it with the people that I love, if that makes sense. And I think a lot of people that are fans of Robin Hobb and fans of any big series or any author, they can understand what I mean. It's become such, like, just such an important part of my reading journey in my life that I want others to have a chance to experience this. And I've shared this with some friends who are enjoying it, and it makes me happier than anything to know that somebody else can read these books and take from them what they think is important and be impacted by the work of Robin Hobb. So anyways, this is, I think, the shortest of the Fits in the Fool trilogy. I am flying through this, and I can't wait to continue on to book 2 and book 3, but I also don't want to be done. It's a very weird, bittersweet thing, but I'm loving it. Needless to say, where it's going to rank, I don't know any of that, and quite honestly, at this point, it doesn't matter all that much to me where all this is going to end up ranking. I know a lot of people care about that, but all I know is that Robin Hobb has deeply impacted me as an author, and I can't wait to just continue to read her works and to take what I need and implement the lessons that she's taught me in my life, that Fitz has taught me, that the other characters in this book around Fitz. I've just learned so much about, I think, how to observe life, and I've gained a ton of empathy reading this series. So enough gushing. Let's get on with the next part of the video. I forgot to mention, I am also reading Swan Song by Robert McCammon. I am 85% through it according to my Kindle. Wow. I'm trying so hard not to compare this, and I'm doing a pretty good job, to The Stand by Stephen King, because I know that Swan Song and The Stand get a ton of comparisons as being these massive post-apocalyptic books. Robert McCammon is a fantastic writer. The characters in this book, again, I am so connected to. The story feels, and everything hits a little bit differently after going through what we all went through with the pandemic. And I think that to see a real post-apocalyptic world, even in fantasy or fiction, it hits a little bit different, because it almost feels like, what if, the pandemic or another pandemic would get that bad? Like, what would the world actually look like? And there's this, obviously, I think the main reason that the Swan Song and The Stand get a lot of comparisons is because there's this ultimate battle between good and evil. There's the factions of people that kind of divulge into this, like, warlike, got to take back over land and territory, and fight for what's mine, and keep your territory. And then there's the people that want to band together and help each other, and develop medications and find the doctors that can help solve the problem, instead of use the situation to take advantage and to try to gain power. There's a lot of really deep theme work going on in this book, and I think that seeing how all these characters, because McCammon does take some time in the beginning to let us get to know a bit about a lot of our main characters before we get into, the pandemic event happening, or the event in this book being, like, basically just nuclear war, and then the sickness, and then just the craziness that comes post that. Because we get to know the characters beforehand, it's a very interesting study on who they become, what they do, once the event takes place. And it's such a post-apocalyptic books are such an interesting character study for me, because even if characters are doing things that seem like they wouldn't have done it previously, it's really hard to hold any of them at fault, because I have no idea how I would react if something like this happened. So, anyways, I will give you guys my final thoughts on Swan Song once I finish it. I'm probably going to finish Fool's Assassin and then finish Swan Song. And yeah, I'm really excited to read more McCammon. I have Boy's Life on the docket. Probably is going to get bumped up a lot more quickly than I originally anticipated, because I'm enjoying Swan Song so much. So I hope that it finishes strongly. I know that a lot of other people that I'm friends with on here have recently been reading Boy's Life and speaking extremely highly about it, so I am super excited to get to it. Next, I just want to go over some books, a mini book haul here. I've acquired some books recently, and we are going to start with, I had an author named Tobias Youngwood reach out to me on Twitter, and we had a fantastic interaction. He's an extremely nice guy. I've been not really accepting, or I never ask for books, but I've not really been accepting a lot of books recently, because I'm just so busy and I feel bad accepting books from authors and not reading them. But Tobias wanted to send me these books, and so he has written a series called the Projectionists series. Here's book one here, called Grave Covenant. And Windland Vale, he also sent me, is, I believe, a prequel novella for the series. Now, he sent me some extremely kind notes in both of these books and a really nice handwritten letter. So I just wanted to give Tobias Youngblood a shout out here on the channel, because he was very kind to me and I had a very positive interaction with him. The next book that I bought for 50 cents at a flea market is called The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. I have another book by this author called The Four Agreements. I've been talking in the last few videos that I've released that I've been trying to get more into meditation and exploring spirituality, just because I'm interested in it. And so when I find books like this, I just try to pick them up, and I chip away at these, you know, whenever I don't feel like reading a fantasy or sci-fi or horror book. I just want to read something else. I'll pick up some type of book on spirituality or something in that vein, just to learn a little bit more and get out of the fiction fantasy zone. At the same flea market, I found this. 3 complete novels by Michael Crichton. We have The Andromeda Strain, The Terminal Man, and The Great Train Robbery. If any of you know anything about this, any of these books, please let me know. Again, this was, I think, maybe $1. I don't know, 50 cents. Super, super cheap. And I have another book by Michael Crichton called Prey. I've not read any Crichton yet, so if you guys think that of these 3 or Prey, there's the best starting point for Michael Crichton, let me know in the comments. Next, I'm so excited to show you guys this. My mother, who has always been supportive of my reading journey, I did not ask for this, sent me a Folio Society of The Shining by Stephen King. And I don't want to give away spoilers, but I do want to show you guys some of this incredible artwork, because the Folio Society is just on a whole nother level. I mean, look at this. I don't think it's even focusing. It's so cool. The cover is amazing. Let's find another cool picture here. Look at this. Just absolutely beautiful artwork. So, that's kind of the end of the little book haul. But it's going to lead into a very fun channel announcement because of some shipping confusion, my mother sent me 2 Shining Folio Society editions. And I was going to send it back to her so she could return it, and she kindly said to pay it forward. So I was thinking of using this as a way to do the channel's very first giveaway. Now, I don't know exactly when I'm going to start the giveaway. I was thinking we're at 750 subscribers right now. I don't know how quickly I can grow, but I thought maybe it would be a really cool idea to give this away when I hit 1,000 subscribers or when I get close to it. So I'm going to keep this on the back shelf here and hold on to that for a potential giveaway in the future. I mean, I'm definitely going to give it away in the future. So if you guys can help me promote the channel and get me closer to 1,000, maybe we'll do a giveaway for The Shining when I get there. If growth seems a little slower, maybe I'll come up with a different way to do giveaway, but I definitely want to pay that forward and gift one of you guys with a lovely giveaway Folio Society edition. Next, just a couple of housekeeping things. The read-along from Malazan between Bards and Books. Christopher Navo, who I think is going to try to keep up with us, and Caleb from Celebrity, and Dan from the Black and Blue Collar Reader, potentially. We are going to be starting House of Chains here in May, so I don't know when we're going to finish it, but as soon as we do, we will let you guys know when we plan to do our next discussion. We had a fantastic discussion on Memories of Ice, which leads me very nicely into my next point. All of you who have been waiting for me to release my Memories of Ice review probably think I'm a big fat liar because I haven't been releasing it, but I promise you, 100% promise you, that is going to be the next video after this that I release. I have a lot of my notes done for it, and I will be recording it within the next day or two, editing it, and getting it up to you guys as soon as I can. And last but not least, this is just a fun thing that I started. I thought that it would be interesting to kind of create a video log of some of my favorite quotes that have impacted me as I read all these wonderful books that I'm reading. So I started a TikTok account, and all it is literally just me recording with a voiceover some of my favorite quotes from the books that I'm actively reading, and it's called Timeless Book Quotes. So I'll put a picture up here somewhere on the screen. If you guys use TikTok and you want to come support, that would be awesome. I'm not really like putting a ton of time and effort into trying to grow that. I just thought that it would be fun to start it, see what happens, and really just have a cool little video log of some of my favorite quotes as I'm reading, because all the time I will read a quote and be like, man, that was really good, and then I'll forget where it is and I'll forget about it because I'm not someone who highlights and underlines and takes notes on my phone while I'm reading. So I thought that it would be just a fun, quick, easy way for me to just like set up my phone and record real quick some of my favorite quotes. So if you guys want to show some support and you're on TikTok, that would be awesome. Again, I'll link it in the description here, and I will also put a picture up. If you just search Timeless Book Quotes on TikTok, it should come up right away. All right, that's going to do it for today, guys. Before we leave, we of course have to do Comedy with Colin, and today's joke is going to be, where do New York City kids learn their multiplication facts? If you think you know the answer, add it to your comment below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and be on the lookout for a lot of videos coming up soon. I have high aspirations that I've been failing to fulfill recently, but I am really going to try to get back on track. Thank you guys again for watching. If you haven't yet, please hit subscribe, like this video, share it. I hope you guys are all enjoying what you're currently reading, and remember, you're always welcome in Colin's Corner.